This is the show dedicated to raising up the next generation of men of faith and character. My name is Mark Stanifer. Welcome to the Next Men Up,
part of the NRT Podcast Network.
Well, hey guys, welcome back once again to the Next Men Up podcast. So good to have you along for another episode and to have you part of the community that's changing the world by raising up the next generation of healthy and godly men. You know this, my name is Mark, and I'm back as your honored host for another episode today. Today we're going to continue along this series of character qualities that I've been referring to as Essentials of Manhood. We've talked about a number of them so far, like courage and strength, and there are others yet to come, but today I want to focus in on this idea of leadership. Now, I know you've heard the word, and I'm sure the word brings up in your mind certain ideas or expectations, certain definitions, but let me tell you the perspective from which I approach leadership, and it's this. I believe leadership at its simplest and at its core is simply influence. It doesn't matter title or role or responsibility. Leadership is not equivalent with authority. There's a difference between managing people and leading people. To boil it all down, I simply look at leadership as influence. If you're able to influence people, then you are really a leader. And in that broad definition, leadership includes many more people than just the CEOs or the generals or the captains or the presidents. And in fact, you, Dad, you are a leader. You're a leader in your home. You're a leader in your family. You're a leader of your kids, particularly your son, as you are leading him on a journey to manhood. When it comes to leadership, this is also not a new topic. It's not a contemporary idea that we think about just simply because we've advanced as a society or we're improved from the generations that have come behind. Let me give you a couple of references to drive that home. In the Old Testament book of 2 Samuel, toward the end, chapter 23, the author records these final words of David. In verse 4, he says, "Whoever governs fairly and well, who rules in the fear of God, is like the first light at daybreak, without a cloud in the sky, like green grass carpeting the earth, glistening under fresh rain." Now, that's the Message translation. But the point is this: leadership as a gift, leadership as compared to the freshness and the brightness of the morning sunshine is what David is getting at here. In fact, what he says in the verse preceding that is, "The God of Israel spoke to me and said these words." Here's another perspective, some different content that I've worked with in terms of servant leadership in a different context. In 600 BC, Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu said this: "The greatest leader forgets himself and attends to the development of others." Or a couple hundred years later in India, Chanakya said this: "The leader shall consider as good not what pleases himself, but what pleases his subjects." Those are thousands of years ago as people wrestled with this idea of leadership and not just authority or obedience, but how the leader can approach those whom he or she is leading and lead them in a healthy and beneficial way. That's what we're really talking about here today. When we talk about leadership or being a leader as an essential quality or characteristic of a man, that's what we're talking about. Being like the morning sun the fresh dew on the grass, being someone who inspires and looks out for the well-being of others. This is the idea of leadership we're leaning into today. Now, many people think that leaders are born, that people are just born leaders and others are born not leaders, simply born followers. And while I'll grant you that there are some personalities, some wiring that is more inclined to be in front, here's the news that I think is both good news, but also holds us accountable. And that's this: leadership can be taught. It isn't just genetically wired into some and not others. It's a skill, it's a perspective, it is a tool that we can develop and learn how to use. Let me give you 4 different qualities of someone who is exhibiting good leadership, somebody who is working to influence those around. And remember, this applies to any context, whether it's a professional context or the personal context or anywhere outside or in between. 4 qualities to keep in mind. First, a leader knows where he's headed. He has a vision for what the future could look like. It may not be there today. In fact, it's likely not what is reality today, but the leader has a vision for what the future could look like and is actively working to bring that vision to light. There's a purpose in his actions because they're moving toward this vision, toward this specific destination. Now, I would also tell you this. While the leader has a vision for what the future could look like, he is fully present in the moment, though not living for the moment. He is in the moment, he is present, but he's not living for the moment. He's living for that vision that he's trying to make into a reality. So the leader knows where he's headed. The second thing is this: the leader takes initiative. Again, think of this beyond role, responsibility, title. Anybody can take initiative. The leader doesn't wait for someone else to take action. They initiate it themselves. And yes, as a part of initiating action, I know this all too well in my own life. Mistakes and falling down are part of the process. I have an aversion to making mistakes. I have a fear of failing in this way. I'm calling it out. I'm telling you like it is for me. But the leader understands that making mistakes, stumbling, bruises, scars, that's all part of the process. And in fact, that is the way to growth, and that's the way to improvement. And so the leader initiates action. To go somewhere requires movement, and movement requires initiative. Otherwise, we're stagnant or we're retreating. But to go somewhere requires initiative and action. And so those that understand leadership, those who want to be a leader, are willing to initiate and to take action. A third component of understanding leadership, really understanding good leadership, is that of serving others. Think of it this way: leadership without the service results in manipulating others for your own ends, while serving others without the leadership is completely surrendering to the needs of others. When you combine the serving and the leading, it produces a purposeful direction for the benefit of others. Oh, and by the way, for additional reference on this idea, just read through the Gospels and notice the way Jesus lives. The fourth is simply this: a leader multiplies through other leaders. The previous components of leadership that I've mentioned, they naturally result in developing others to do and to live in the same way. It only makes sense that the leader would invest in those who will continue his vision. It's also natural that developing others will result in them launching out and pursuing their own vision. In this way, the leader multiplies through other leaders. When good leaders do their thing, the byproduct will be other good leaders stepping up to do their thing as well. So those 4 things again: a leader knows where he's headed, a leader takes initiative, a leader serves others, and a leader multiplies. Again, remember that this is in the home context just as much as it is in the church context, in the community context, in the organizational context. Leaders aren't just hardwired from birth. Leaders choose to live out these qualities. Yes, some are more inclined, maybe some feel this more naturally, but that doesn't mean, if that's not you, that you're off the hook, because leadership as influence is available to each of us, regardless of our wiring, regardless of our title or our responsibility. When you work to lead yourself well, which is the starting point for being able to lead others, and you positively influence those for whom you have responsibility, good things will happen through your leadership. So, how is your leadership? Where are you struggling? Is it embracing the responsibility to begin with? Is it even understanding or seeing yourself as a leader? Is it leading from a heart of serving rather than manipulating? Maybe you're killing it at work, but you're resisting stepping into a more leader position at home. Wherever you are, I challenge you, I invite you to take a moment and to pause and to think about 1 or 2 ways that you can grow in your leadership, especially when it comes to leading your family, when it comes to leading your son to become the man that he was created to be. This is good and important work for us dads, us men to be about, and it's time for us to step up and do it. All right, guys, there are my thoughts on leadership, this continuing series of essential qualities for manhood. If you got any feedback, of course, you can hit me up at feedback@thenextmanup.com. Always enjoy hearing from you, the listeners. Suggestions, comments, questions. Hit us up, feedback@thenextmanup.com, or you can find us on Facebook at NMU Journey is where we are there. Or if you haven't been out to our website before, go check it out. thenextmanup.com is that site. Thanks again, guys, for being with us for another episode. As I said at the beginning, for being part of the community that's raising up healthy and godly men. It starts with us being healthy and godly men, leading ourselves well first, so that we can lead those around us for whom we are responsible and have influence. All right, guys, that's it. We'll put a bow on this one. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. Until then, adios. Hey, listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. You know, we would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.